And I'm not going to say your name just since I'm sending this to you over the internet to maintain privacy, but today is, what is today? Today is June 22nd, and I have this I have a bench on my bed with my phone hanging over the edge, so this is my kind of setup to figure out how to do a reading with my phone and video it. And so here is the first card I drew for you. So the deck that you chose is called the Smith-Waite Centennial Tarot, and for Pamela Coleman Smith. So this is actually the classic, this is really the classic tarot images, so you should be familiar with them if you've ever done any tarot before. And I'll just explain to you, right off of camera, like right in front of this black little platform thing here, I have all the cards spanned out, and I've already shuffled before the video started, so you wouldn't have to sit and listen to me shuffling. And this card is the card that you chose by giving me that number. I'll explain to you why I gave you asked for a really long number. I don't know how long it's been since you've done math, but you know how, let's say, if you say what's 6 divided by 3? Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2, right? And there's no remainder. If you remember what a remainder is, sometimes you have some left over. If I say, well, what's 7 divided by 3? Well, 7 divided by 3 is, well, it goes in twice, but 1 is left over. So I took that big number you gave me, and since there are 78 cards in the tarot deck, I divided it by 78. And you can't have a remainder of 78, since if it were a multiple of 78, there would be nothing left over. It would be perfect. But when I divide it by 78, you can have a remainder of 0 through 77. So the remainder I got for your number was 25. I added 1 because it starts with 0. So I picked the 26th card out of the deck for you, and I'm going to use this at the end. This is going to be the overall guide that you chose for the reading. So I'm sitting next to my computer as well, so I took a couple notes about the things that we wanted to cover. I kind of boiled it down to looking at your husband's job, your job, the situation with your husband's driver's license, and then kind of new topic, your relationship and us time, and then also your health. So that's a lot to cover, but let's get started. I'm going to put this card aside for now, and we'll look at that at the end. So the way I usually like to start is I'll draw 3 cards just to take the general temperature and of the situation in your life. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, and 3. And let's just start with this general, kind of like a sentence, if you will. Interesting. Okay, so here we have, I'm kind of looking this as like a progression from left to right, and I don't know how the videos flip. So this side is the left-hand side, so we'll read in this direction over to the right. And I do read with reversals. I know some readers don't read with reversals, but the first one we have is the 3 of Cups reversed from my perspective. We have the Knight of Pentacles, and we have the Magician. So to me here, the first thing that comes up is that the joy in your life, there's some blockage around it. When I read reversals, I don't usually read it as the opposite meaning necessarily. I usually look at a reversal as the energy of the card being blocked or delayed somehow. So it looks like, and I mean, this makes sense given what you told me, right? That the energy of your life right now, in terms of joy, is rather blocked. So moving along though, we have the Knight of Pentacles. This actually fits in really well with what you're saying, with what, you know, with all of the stuff that you asked about, because to me, the Knight of Pentacles really indicates a quest for stability in your life in like in a pragmatic sort of way. The Pentacles are very earthy and pragmatic, and knights in general, knights go on quests. So here we have like a quest for stability, and that seems like all of the things. Let's see, like trying to find a job, the getting your relationship in order and taking care of yourself in terms of health. This is all about seeking stability, being grounded, having safety in your personal life. And then the Magician, well, this is pretty damn good. So the Magician is all about creation, right? It's like in an Oprah sort of way. This would be like the manifestation card, and it's all about being able to manifest what you desire. So already we're starting this off on a really positive note. Now, you know, you're already in the situation. Here's where you are in the present. You know, you are blocked from your joy. You are reaching out and you're seeking stability, and on all the pragmatic fronts. And here we have the Magician, that, you know, the fact that you're reaching out right now, and it's upright too, which is great. It's saying that, you know, you are going to be able to create the stability that you're seeking in your life. So I like this already. This is really pretty cool. I'm just gonna kind of, and I don't think you can see how my cards are fanned out. They're just all fanned out face down. Let's take a look. Let's see, I'm looking at your list. You mentioned your husband's job and then your job. So let's go ahead and draw a card for your husband's job. I'm gonna draw a card for your job as well. Let's see, that one right there. So that's your job. And yeah, let me include, because it's very related to the job, let's also pull one right now for the driver's license. Okay, so let's see. So this is your husband's job. This is your job. And then this is the driver's license situation. Okay. So I need to turn, well, I'll remember that these are reversed, but I kind of want to look at the card right side up from my perspective. So in terms of your husband's job, so this, I have some personal meanings around this card. So you'll notice there's a figure, he's sort of forlorn. He's looking down at these tipped over cups. This is the 5 of Cups. And behind him are 2 cups that are still upright. So what he's noticing is he's lost something. You can see that the contents of the cup are spilled on the ground. And so to me, given the fact that it's about a job, I've been unemployed myself. I mean, my first reaction is that he's probably depressed, right? And it's very hard to motivate yourself when you're either depressed, being a man, he might be feeling emasculated if he really identified and got his self-worth from his job. So, you know, it's a bad situation to be in. It's reversed, so I would say that this is probably causing some hindrances for him, you know? But on the bright side, you have control over your own outlook. So to me, some of the wisdom of this card is the fact that you may be looking at what you've lost, but behind you, which is not where your attention is, you have these 2 cups that are still upright and they still can contain the things that you want in life. So if he can just bring himself to see, you know, that there are still positive things in his life, that might be able to help him get out of the slump. In the background of this card, there's I guess it's a river or stream, and in the very distance, there's a bridge. And I like that little detail because to me, like my pet name for this card is the Bridge Over Troubled Waters. It's off in the distance, so it's not right next to you, but you can get there. There is a bridge over the troubled waters. So it might, the path to get to the bridge may be delayed since this card was originally reversed when I drew it, but there is hope. But this is where he is right now. Now, I'm gonna draw an additional card for him because for the job, because I want to, let me see. I think I'll draw like an advice card for this, the action to take. Let's say that this is the action he should take. And if I remember correctly, all the black area should be visible. So, okay, so the action to take is the King of Cups and it's reversed. I'm gonna just pull it upright for a minute so I can look at it and absorb it. So one of the background details that makes me feel hopeful about the King of Cups is that there's a fish in the background. The waters are very choppy, So it's going to be a rough ride, but you'll notice that the king is actually firmly mounted. So there's all this churning water around him, but he's in control. Kings are all about authority and mastery, and cups are about emotions. So it was reversed, so I would say that on an emotional level, he might not be in control of his emotions, and maybe that is the advice of this card is that he really needs to get all of that in check, or kind of, I don't want to say pull it together like a man up sort of thing, because that's toxic masculinity. I don't think that's not the lesson of this card here. I think it's mastering emotions in terms of being able to find the path to a place of confidence once again. And how can he be a king? How can he be a master of his emotions again? How can he become emotionally stable again? But I think if he can do that, there is a job awaiting him, right? Right, because the fish is all about prosperity. There's a ship in the background, so well, actually, the ship actually I think is fortuitous too, because there's this whole driver's license aspect, and a ship is a vehicle. And at this time, there weren't really cars yet in the time of tarot, so I think that bodes well too. So let's keep reading. I'm going to skip you for a moment, and we'll continue with the theme of your husband, and we'll look at the driver's license. You got the Seven of Swords, the Eight of Swords. The swords are the suit of air, the mind, and anxieties, because I always say anxiety because air is related to the mind and the intellect, and as you get overfilled with thinking, that's really kind of the source of anxiety when you can't get things out of your head. So there's a woman, she's hoodwinked or blindfolded, and she's also, she's bound, but she's bound, I mean, her clothing is loose, so she's bound. She's standing in a marsh. She's off by herself. If you look online at a detail of the Eight of Cups, you'll see that there's actually a city on a hill in the background. So she might be in the middle of nowhere, but clearly home is within reach. And she's surrounded by a number of swords that are stuck vertically in the marsh around her. One of my meanings for this card is usually that there's a way, there's a path back to where you need to be, and that's the arrangement of the swords here. They're on either side of her, but she's standing basically in the opening, but she can't see it. So there is a path, and either I believe she's hoodwinked herself in many cases. So not being able to pay the fee for the DUI, I think, or what I'm getting from this is that there is a path. It's just a matter of being able to see it and using your intellect and pulling that hoodwink off in order to see the path to get to that place where he can get whatever license he needs to drive again. I'm going to pull an action for him, and it's reversed again. Okay, so it's the Page of Cups, and this is interesting. It kind of echoes the King of Cups here. I'm going to turn it upright for a moment just to look at it. Again, you know what? We've got the fish. So I feel like there's definitely a way to get him to this job. Emotionally, though, the waters are uneasy. If you look at the water behind the page, which is the symbol of emotion, you know, they're not in check yet. Pages of the court, it goes page, knight, queen, king. The pages are the debutantes. They're like beginners. They often, in the old-fashioned way of reading tarot, they are often called the messengers, and one of the basic definitions used to be that you'll be receiving a message soon. But I usually don't read that way, but I mention it just in case that actually happens. The way I look at this and it being reversed is that a Page of Cups on an emotional level as the advice to getting to where he needs to be to find this driver, to get a driver's license again, or to find the means to pay the fine to open up the way. It might be saying that he needs to start out again at a more beginner level. And actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, I remember my notes. I didn't write this in my notes, but you said something about bricklaying, and you said that he one of the concerns is that he might have to start out at a lower level. And what I'm getting here is that, maybe that's the case. Maybe he does need to start out at a lower level, but something is better than nothing, and having a job, it's actually easier to find a job when you already have a job too. So it's going to be difficult. Usually another meaning of blocked, of reversed, isn't just blocked, but the phrase I like to use is that it'll be a tough slog. So since this is a page, it's on the emotional level and it's reversed, I think it's saying that maybe you do have to consider this job for lesser pay to get your foot back in the door. It's going to be a tough slog emotionally, but in the end, you can create in the situation, what you need to create can be created, right? If you put your mind to it, you can create it, in the overall advice here. So I think this is saying that maybe you have to accept beginning again. Now let's see. This card was your job. So let's look at your job. So this is the Page of Wands reversed. So there's some blockage here. So the Page of Wands, wands are the suit of fire, and pages, and we just talked about pages, right? Pages are the beginners. And you were talking about how, let's see, you're hoping it will become a job that I love and enjoy being at for a longer period of time, but will also support us financially as well. So what I would get from the Page of Wands is that fire in this case, to me, represents, it was basic definition of is the will. And when it represents career, it's kind of like, if it were pentacles, that's the kind of job you get for security and to feed your family. When wands come up for careers, to me, because it's the fire inside you, that's more about your vocation, something that's fulfilling inside of you. So to get a Page of Wands here, I'm thinking that page usually means that it's entry level, right? Because pages are the beginners, the debutantes. And it might take a while because it was reversed. Something will be blocked about getting this job that has to do with the fire inside you and the will. Part of the message of this could be that maybe you can't, if you really want to focus on finances, maybe it's that, okay, well, starting out in a brand new job that you love is not the way to get what you are actually asking for in the email, which is the income. So let me draw a guide or an action to take on this one too to clarify it. So let's see what this is. Oh, okay. This is also reversed. So this is the Miser card. This is the Four of Pentacles. You'll notice pentacles are basically coins. He is, the man in the picture is in the foreground, and the landscape behind him is of a city. So he's sitting there secure. He's got two hands clasped around the coin, and he's a miser because, he's got his feet on these other coins. So really one of the big messages of this card is saving. So this is about being financially secure. This is probably not the time to be generous and save, to offer money to spend frivolously. Since it was reversed, it's going to be hard though. So the message I'm getting here is that you have some really, you can create whatever you want, right? The Magician came up for you, but I think the consideration here is, well, do you focus on your passion and finding a job that you love initially that's going to be entry level, and it's going to make it very hard for you to have any additional money left over to save and to build savings? Or do you maybe not do this and find a more lucrative job, but maybe it's not your passion? Ultimately, you have free will, right? Tarot isn't about predicting the future. It's about informing you and kind of turning on light bulbs for you. So you create whatever you want, but I think you're going to have to balance those two objectives that you said in your email. So I think that's all I'm going to say about that for now. The job and the job, both of your jobs and the license situation. I'm going to make a little space And I'm going to move on to the relationship question. Let's see, I'm just going to put those over there. You mentioned having kids, and you meant, let's see, you have 2 small children, you don't have a lot of us time, you want to find some clarity where I can put more effort in and maybe a better way to communicate and connect again. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to draw 2 cards. I'm going to draw a card for you and a card for your husband, this one. I can't get a grip. And we're going to look at the energy of you and him. And then I'm going to draw a card for the relationship. So what's the energy of the 2 of you together right now? And remember, tarot's about right now. It's not about, it's about the energy, the way things are set up right now. So nothing's set in stone. So let's see. So this is you in the relationship. This is your husband. And then this is that's interesting because it's what you said in your it's what you said in your email, which I like. Okay, so notice that both of you are reversed right now. So I mean, that's just kind of like your energy's blocked, and it's hard when your livelihood is at risk. How can you be romantic and feel relaxed and enjoy life if your livelihood is in jeopardy, right? But let's look at the energy. So I'm going to turn it upright just so I can look at it. So this is the 2 of Swords. This is interesting that you've got another card where the figure is hoodwinked. She's wearing a blindfold. This is a self-imposed blindfold. It's the 2 of Swords, and swords are, again, it's the suit of air, which is the mind and anxiety. So this is often about weighing your options and weighing options in a way that oppresses you. Hence the anxiety aspect of it. One of the things that I always find interesting about this card is if you look at her wrists, well, 2 things about her wrists. They're covering her chest, right? And your chest is where your heart is. So it's kind of like holding your cards close to your chest, that cliche. She is really unable to open up her heart right now when she's in this sort of defensive position. So in terms of a relationship, well, not having your heart open makes it hard to focus on your relationship. The other interesting thing about the position of her wrists is that I don't know if you've ever held a sword, but someone who isn't like Herculean, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type, you can't hold a sword at that angle and support that for more than like a second unless you're specially trained. So in a way, the message of this card is that it's impossible to balance those swords, like these heavy things that would just strain your wrists, and you wouldn't be able to do that. So you're dealing with a Herculean effort right now, and it's closing off your heart to some degree. So I think, since we just read these cards over here, I think part of the message is that until you've unloaded the swords from your hands, until you've and so that you can put your hands down and open up your heart, this might not be the right time to focus on your relationship. You might have to choose your battles right now. And since it's also reversed, it's all about blockage. There's a delay aspect. I think it's going to be a little while before you can work on that relationship. The feminine energy of the card too, what I'm picking up right now, it's you'll notice it's like almost a new moon. So most of the moon isn't visible. That's like the sort of feminine wisdom, the feminine energy. And when it's occluded that way, it's telling me too that you just don't have a lot left over to give to a relationship right now. His card, it's the Sun. This is one of the best cards in the deck. Of course, it's reversed. There's a baby on a horse, right? And there's an element of nostalgia. So, he knows the time when your relationship was good and he has that memory. So I would say that for him, it's just about, the word that comes to mind for me is a matter of rekindling. But again, rekindling meaning drawing back into the present moment, things that were great in the past. So in terms of the strategy, I would say, you talked about where I can put more effort in and maybe a better way to communicate and connect again. Swords are the communication suit, but you don't have the energy to do it right now. But I'd say when you do reach out and communicate, it might be talking about with him conjuring up all of the things that were working in the past when things were rosy and the sun was shining and the weather was great. And I think the conversation is about what you can do to rekindle things in that way. And the only other thing I'll point out is, like, he's wearing a red feather, and I have another deck here that's not shuffled. All the cards are in order just so I can show you cards as I need to, just for comparison's sake. I wanted to compare this to the Fool. The Fool it's card number 0, and I think this is the only two cards where there are these red feathers, and I just wanted to hearken this. So this card is all about infinite potentiality. It's about starting journey. It's about, like, almost being in the womb. So from that perspective, early in your relationship, when everything is possible, he's kind of still carrying the memory of just when all of that was being born and just was new. Because of this feather, it's hearkening back to the Fool here. So I would say, yeah, the message to me is really drawing on what was working in the past to get that energy of the relationship unblocked. The energy of the relationship, however, I would say that you two, I'm not sure if this is because you're a stranger and we can't clarify things. I would say that this might have one of two meanings for you. That's the 6 of Pentacles. That's the generosity card. When I interact with people in real life, I would kind of say, who do you see yourself as in this card? Do you see yourself as one of the receivers and in a poor place right now, or do you see yourself as the giver? Without being able to ask that of you, and seeing it over this video, it's not really clear. I think the message of this one is it's basically echoing, and I mentioned this when I first put the cards down. It's echoing what you said in your message to me. You talked about what was the exact phrase you used? You wanted to find some clarity on where I can put more effort. This is all about generosity, and I think this is just echoing what you said. You are on the right track here with your attitude, because, like, a lot of people in relationships, they're like, how can I change my partner? How can I make him or her do X? And they kind of externalize the problem, and as we know, realistically, you can't change people. So I think the energy resonating here is by communicating when times were good. I think you'll both become more giving people. I think the time frame for that is going to be a little delayed with these reversals, but I think you're already on the right track. Being giving here, communicating and being giving with him are what you need to do. And I think the trigger and the seed for the communication to rekindle things is really about remembering when things were the sunniest as they could be, when you guys were maybe falling in love, or when times were rosy, and using those sorts of things either by reenacting them or not necessarily reenacting, sounds like it's fake. Doing those things again, if it's going for a walk in a certain place, or if it's going to a certain, I don't know, a shop you used to like to go to together, or it doesn't have to be spending money, right? The best things in life are free. If you can find those things and do them together and talk about them to just bring back the original romance, I think that would be a good approach. So that was the relationship. What I'll do about relationships. I'm going to put these cards aside. Now let's take a look at your health. I'm just kind of staring at the cards for a minute and trying to switch my mentality over to your health. Let's look at the energy of your health right now. So the Page of Swords. So to me, to get the Page of Swords, you mentioned your mother's health concerns. And you said, like, I'd like to see a path that will enlighten me on where my health is at the moment and where it can be improved in the future. So it sounds like because it's a page, again, you're just beginning this thought process. And to me, it's a thought process, right? Because again, swords are intellect. I don't think this is, well, how can you not be a little bit anxious about your health when you're worried about if you're inheriting a condition that your own family had? So, but I don't think the main message here is about the health. I think it's the intellectual aspect of the sword. So I think for you, this is saying that it's about time for you to start having a conversation with your doctor if you have health care. If you don't have health care, maybe it is about doing some research online about, you know, things that you've noticed about your health and about your body that you might need to improve. But there's basically the beginning of an intellectual journey. This is telling me that you probably haven't thought about this a lot in the past, or either that or there are topics that are coming up right now that you don't have prior experience in. So now's the time to make your start if you want to figure out where to go with your health. So again, up to you. You can create what you need to create. Magician, right? You're looking for a sense of safety and stability, and you're working on a pragmatic level right now. We did think, I think that these are telling us that I think you have to get your livelihood in order first. If there's nothing pressing, you know, you can do this when you have a moment. And you have health in here, you have your relationship, and you have your livelihood. You can't work on all three of those things at the same time. So up to you to sequence them, but when you're ready, it sounds like some research is in order. Let's pick an action to take for you. Okay. Oh, well, I think this is the Seven of Cups. So this is an emotional card. It's water, and it's blocked, so it's going to be a tough slog. So I think what this is telling us is this figure is looking at 7 cups that are filled with wildly different things. Each of those things has a meaning, but I think the basic communication here is that if you start researching, what's going to happen is that you're going to be, he's taken aback, so he's going to be a bit overwhelmed. You're going to be on an emotional level, there will be a feeling of being overwhelmed, and it will be because so many things come up. You'll have all of these choices, like, do I research X? Do I research Y? Do I work on X? Do I work on Y? So up to you on how to prioritize that. But given what you've said, probably livelihood. Like once you get that, once you can feed yourself, feed your family, you have a secure roof over your head, you know, Maslow's needs, if you've heard of Maslow's needs, there are 7 basic things that human beings need. Work on the basics, I would say, before working on this, because this looks like it could get overwhelming if you start doing this approach to an intellectual and a research approach to your health. I'm going to draw another advice card on your health. Okay, so Temperance it's a major arcana card. It's like a big message. So Temperance, in another deck, one of the meanings of this card is alchemy, and I love to use that definition for Temperance. There's an angel in this card, and you'll notice that there are 2 cups. So it's hearkening to these cups over here, and there's like, this isn't just water on an emotional level, it's one step above. To me, this is a spiritual thing, because if you notice that the water is flowing between the 2 cups diagonally, in real life, the water would fall straight down into the pond that he's standing over. So that can't happen in real life. So there's an element of magic here. There's an element of something more than what happens in the real world. So you can figure out the element. This is ultimately, even though it might be a trying time, you can actually alchemically figure out what you need to do to bring health into your life. You can see that there's a path that leads to a mountain with, it's sort of a sun that also is reminiscent of a crown. So as in like a crowning achievement. So I think in the long term, overall, you're going to figure out this health stuff. I think it's going to be overwhelming in the beginning, but you're going to get to where you need to go. And you're going to figure out the elements that need to come together in perfect balance. Temperance is also about balance, not going too far in one direction or too far in the other. So alchemically, eventually you will understand what you need to thrive in terms of health. And I think now, if you'll remember, we put this card aside. This is the card that you picked, which is your guide. So for the reading, this is usually the card that's like kind of the message. Like, I don't know if you believe in guardian angels or kind of spirits or just like angel on your shoulder or whatever it might be. This is kind of the overall advice to you, that kind of guide. Oh, you picked the Six of Cups. That's cute. Okay, so the Six of Cups. Cups are water, emotional. And this is the nostalgia card. So you'll notice that there is there's a scene with a boy giving a girl a chalice with a flower in it. So it's just kind of a cute little scene of, you know, innocence and childhood. And the base meaning of this card is nostalgia. We already had an element of nostalgia in the relationship part, right? Where we talked about the sun and pulling nostalgia back for on your husband's side for the relationship. So I'm thinking that, you know, your guide is actually, your guidance here is that you need to do that for you too. In the background of this card, there's, you know, this is like sort of, I don't know if it's a garden or what this is over here where these kids are hanging out, but in the back there's like buildings, like in the background, real life is still going on. There's a man with a spear in the background, so like a guard. There's still people doing work. There's still the concerns of real life in the background. So, you know, you can never truly escape, but I think this is some time, this is basically telling you to figure out, well, where in the past were things working for you really well? Where in the past were you feeling successful in these pursuits? Because I think everybody has had ups and downs in life in all of these areas. So you figuring it out for you. Where were things working before? Why were things working when they were working in the past? And then see how you can bring elements. How can you give that to yourself? How can you bring elements of all of those times when times were good, when your job was good, when your relationship was good, when things were good in terms of your time management? How can you figure out what was happening then and how can you bring that into your life now? Because this nostalgia card is telling me that things have been good in the past for you, and you can figure out a way to refine that situation. So I think that's all I want to say. So let me know how you like the reading. I'm going to try to figure out how to technically get this video to you, and let me wish you the best of luck in your endeavors.